Tourist hub Marseille is the venue for the French Grand Prix, the deciding round of the 2016 FIM X-Trial World Championship. The lead quartet from one of the most challenging X-Trials of last season comprises the top 4 riders in this year's series, with the front 3 still in mathematical contention for the title. Since opening round victory for Adam Raga in Sheffield, the tide has turned in favour of his rivals. Back-to-back victories for Tony Bow and a valuable second-place finish for Albert Cabestan have given him a near impossible task in Marseille. After winning in Sheffield, we prepared hard to keep winning, and for every eventuality, we worked hard and we weren't far from the win in Barcelona.
La verdad es que hicimos un buen trabajo y no estuvimos lejos de la victoria.
It was a very important race in which we couldn't afford to make a mistake. In such a short championship it was vital, and there's no better way to get your confidence back than at home. So I was happy with the race and getting back in front at such a tough moment in the championship. The fact that there's been a month's break between each race means you can prepare, but it also means a lot of nerves at the races. In Vienna Neustadt the sections were similar to those I rode so well on last year, and I was particularly comfortable in the final, riding at 100%, and I was so happy with the victory. It was a bad result. I was still riding well through qualifying, but in the final I had a couple of problems and I couldn't ride my best. But we're happy with the results so far, and we're going to give everything in the final race, where everything will be decided.
Estamos contentos con el resultado y vamos a dar el 100% a la última carrera, que creo que se va a decidir todo.
I did Tony a bit of a favour really, without meaning to. I was trying to get the best possible result for myself to build a gap to Gironi overall. Tony has a bit more of a margin because of it, but little more than that. Anything can happen. We've seen that in X-Trial at the moment things can change quickly. And with a trial like today's, which should be quite open in terms of scoring, nobody can be sure of anything. Although everything might seem to be going in Tony's favour, it can very quickly turn the other way.
Entonces creo que nadie tiene nada seguro, todo puede pasar y pues se puede pasar de un que todo está a favor de Tony a lo contrario en un momento.
The 28th Marseille X-Trial is the 16th X-Trial Grand Prix in the city, but its first ever championship decider. The 6,000 capacity Palais des Sports welcomes the challengers for the 2016 title and the fans who will contribute the event's unique atmosphere. Jaime Busto makes his second wildcard appearance of the season, leaving Alexandre FRA the lone home representative for the French Grand Prix. The bottom 2 from the Barcelona X-Trial renewed their rivalry as the opening pair in Marseille. Eddie Carlson first onto the sections after his double-lane defeat. The Swede enjoyed a best finish of 6th position in Austria, leaving him 2 points behind Alexandre FRA in the race for 6th overall coming into Marseille. And his day started with a solid 2-mark score, 1 mark on observation and another on time. Jaime Busto made his second X-Trial appearance of 2016, and after an 8th place finish in Barcelona, looked on target for another as he immediately dropped behind direct rival Carlson. Busto slipped to a 5-mark score in section 1 and struggled through just 1 section all evening. Eddie Carlson also found the difficulty level in Marseille somewhat taxing. 2 consecutive failed sections kept him within reach of Busto at the lap's halfway mark. The youngster put in a valiant attempt in section 3, making it beyond Carlson and through to finish the section. Marks on observation accrued across the trunks, and 2 time penalty marks factored in saw him fail nonetheless. And with a fourth consecutive 5-mark score, Busto had failed to capitalise on Carlsen's errors. The Swede finished with a lap total of 22 after closing with 4 fiascos of his own, leaving Busto needing a 1-mark score from section 5 to guarantee at least 7th position. Busto impressed as he worked through his first completed section, but the Spaniard accrued 2 marks on observation and another on time to finish a single mark back from Carlsen and at the bottom after the opening pair. Alexander FRA had an Austrian Grand Prix to forget, but hoped to bounce back in his home event to consolidate 6th in the championship. With a target of 22 marks set down by Eddie Carlsen, and the Frenchman needing to beat the Swede to secure his championship ranking, FRA opened the sections matching his main rival. 4 days from his 26th birthday and looking to celebrate in front of his home crowd, FRA put in a strong early effort with a 2-mark score on section 1. A 5-mark tally in section 2 eventually proved costly in denying him a place in the final, leaving him under pressure from Takehisa Fujinami. The Japanese rider was the first competitor to make it through the section, accruing a mark on observation and 2 on time. But a battling effort and becoming one of only 3 riders to make it through the section eventually helped him to his strongest qualifying performance of the season, and his early results enabled him to break from FRA. The Frenchman generally matched his direct rival's performance through the lap, but scoring 10 marks over the final 3 sections for a weaker finish, FRA concluded with a lap total of 17, enough to bounce back from disappointment in Vienna Neustadt and to guarantee at least 6th position. Fujinami failed just 1 of the 5 qualifying sections as he posted a competitive score and remained in contention for a first top 4 appearance of the campaign. Taking another mark out of FRA on section 5, Fujinami finished 3 marks clear and on 14, making the difference over his direct rival in just 2 of the 5 sections.
Dans cette
After an excellent second position finish in Austria and the repercussions of that result in the championship, Albert Cabestan arrived in Marseille optimistic of challenging for second in the series overall. And his superb qualifying lap confirmed his resurgence in the latter stages of the season. Cabestan was the first qualifier to make it clean through Section 1. And he also rode impressively on Section 2, accruing a first mark of the lap, but nonetheless putting in the best performance of anyone on one of the more technical sections. Cabestan sat on just 1 after 2 sections, comparing favourably with Fujinami on 5 at the same point, and needing to get through just 1 of the 3 remaining sections to avoid elimination. Gironi Fajardo had a somewhat slower start as he looked to secure a 10th consecutive top 4 finish. A failure on Section 2, with 3 marks on observation and the time elapsing before he could make it through the course, left him with ground to make up on Fujinami, with only 7 marks to play with and 3 sections left to complete. A story of contrast continued between Cabestan and Fajardo. While Fajardo continued to battle for a place in the final, Cabestan had his top 4 spot secured after a clean in Section 3. The veteran tallied a second mark on Section 4, but completed the lap with a highly impressive 2. The result was Cabestan's best qualifying effort in 3 years, as he eventually finished top of the pile and first seed to the final. Fajardo, meanwhile, seemed back in the driving seat for a place in the final as he dropped just 1 mark in Section 4, where Fujinami had scored a 5, to leave himself 4 marks up on the Japanese rider with a section remaining. Fajardo hadn't been beaten by the veteran in 3 years coming into Marseille, but after a 1-point near misses for Fujinami in Barcelona and Vienna Neustadt, Marseille was the turning point. Attempting to recover from an early section error, Fajardo slipped further and further from his desired route through the rocks and dropped to a second 5-mark score of the lap. Neither Fujinami nor Cabestan had failed 2 sections. Fajardo would have to rely on severe underperformance for Tony Bow or Adam Raga to get back in the trial. An ultimately fruitless wait and a disappointing end to the season for Fajardo as his hopes of a top 3 championship finish faded. Tony Bow and Adam Raga now needed simply to beat Fajardo's 15-mark total to secure progression. A dramatic error for Bow in the second section of qualifying briefly put his participation in doubt, as the sum of marks accrued while he recovered pushed him to a 5-mark score, and he became the 5th rider to fail on the course. Raga moved in front of Bow with just 1 dropped mark on the same section, and he matched Albert Cabestan early in the lap. Tony Bo returned to form to get his qualification hopes back on track. Section 3 was the second clean for the reigning champion. With just one more mark to spare in his quest to top qualifying, Raga remained 4 marks in front of his championship rival, despite picking up a mark on time in Section 3. Raga's 2-mark score after 2/3 of the lap secured his place in the final, with 2 sections still to tackle. With the 4 qualifiers decided, Tony Bo was left to battle with Adam Raga over a potential second-place finish, and Raga still had a chance to tie with Albert Cabestan at the top of qualifying. With his place in the final secured, Bo proved his Section 2 error had been only a momentary blip, as he found his form to notch a 4th clean section and a lap total of 5. Raga was unable to remain clean and match Cabestan, but he remained inside Bo's 5-mark score by managing his scoring and notching 2 marks to take second. Both were accrued late in the section, but it had nonetheless been a confident opening for Raga, and the strength of Cabestan in qualifying will have given hope to Raga that the former champion could impose himself between the top 2 in the standings to force a title battle. I feel a bit bad about this race, really, because I only narrowly missed out on a place in the final, and Fujinami managed to get through. Just 3 points from the final is very little, but I'm quite happy with my riding. I made a few mistakes and took a bit too long in the sections, so took time penalties as well. A few marks for leaning on the sump as well, but overall I have to be fairly satisfied with the race and take advantage of these mistakes as a way to improve. A shame, really. I've made it to all of the finals except this one. I think I had a good race until the last section, but it was quite a hard trial, long sections, and by the last section I could barely ride. Just a shame. The first break in Spain's top 4 dominance this season as Takehisa Fujinami makes it into the final for the first time since the start of 2014. The Japanese rider joins the top 3 in the world with a chance to improve his own world ranking, as the top 5 championship positions are to be decided over just 5 sections in Marseille. A series of 3 double-lane races will decide the starting positions for the final, with the riders appearing in reverse order of their seeding position. The winner stays on from each race to tackle the next seed in the hope of improving their all-important starting position in the final 4. First up then, Montesa riding HRC teammates Takehisa Fujinami and Tony Bo. Away they go then, Bo making the fractionally faster start. Fujinami immediately into second position, struggling for balance over the first of the obstacles. And it's Tony Bo who will lead into the turn. A fairly long double lane section here in Marseille. But it's Bo who's making it look easier as it stands. Fujinami trying to make some ground back, but clatters into the step there and then settles back for second position as Tony Bo moves on, and Fujinami will be the first to tackle the sections in the final here tonight. So Bo stays on to face championship rival Adam Raga. The defeated rider here will be second through the sections tonight. The winner will march on to face Albert Cabestan in the last of 3 double-lane races. A more even start this time between Bo and Raga, but it's Bo who fractionally has it. A bike length in front now of Adam Raga at the turn. Raga using his foot to try and give himself balance as he makes the turn, but is slipping further back all the time. And this is going to be another comfortable run to the finish for Tony Bo. 2 rides and 2 wins, and fairly comfortably as well, as he improves his seeding position after an uninspiring qualifying performance with that 5-mark score, single failure, slipping him to 3rd in the seeding positions. But he's already made it to the last of the double lane races to join top qualifier Albert Cabastan. The winner will be the last through the sections in Marseille tonight. Bo with an immediately faster start once again. Explosive in the early stages, and Cabastan has got himself stuck on the first obstacle. And Bo is going to make it to the halfway point before Cabastan has made even a quarter of the course. Again, it's going to be Bo at a canter then. In fact, he's slowing it up now just to guarantee he will be the last through the sections. 3 double lanes, 3 victories. Tony Bo will be last up to tackle the sections in Marseille. Cabastan loses out despite his first seeding position from qualifying, and he will be the 2nd to last rider through the sections tonight. So Fujinami, Raga, Cabastan and Bo will be the order for the 5 sections here in Marseille to decide the top 4 positions in this event and the top 5 positions in the championship. Section 1. This one's somewhat reminiscent of a Neolithic monument. 3 main steps, all up onto rock lintels. Takehisa Fujinami, the first rider through the sections here tonight, looking to add to his 35 career podiums with the first top 3 finish since 2013. This is his first final in his last 8 X-Trial appearances. This is the biggest step of section number 1, and Fujinami has made it up with a bit of encouragement from his left leg, gaining balance on his way through, and that has cost him a mark on observation. Trying to avoid another now, because immediately he'll set a target and an opportunity for the other 3 riders to move in front of him. Urged on by his minder, time is slipping away here from Takehisa Fujinami, and there's the 60-second timer. So that's another mark now accrued on time as well. 20 seconds still to go before accruing another time penalty mark for Takehisa Fujinami. Under pressure running through to the finish. He's going to have to make this one quickly. Down the other side. 87 seconds, so only fractionally away from gaining another time penalty mark. But it's 1 on observation and 1 on time as Takehisa Fujinami records a 2-mark score in section 1. Adam Raga next up, the 8 times French Grand Prix winner, looking for another to keep his 2016 championship hopes alive. Raga, who enjoyed his sole victory of last season in France, up onto section 1 with a 2-mark target set down by Takehisa Fujinami. But realistically, Raga is going to be going for the lowest possible score, knowing that Tony Bo is still to come. And Cabastan as well, of course, who matched and exceeded Raga's performance last time out in Vienna Neustadt. That's the step that cost Fujinami a mark. It's cost Raga a mark as well. Has to put down his left foot for a quick dab to get himself to the top, and that's going to be another there, because he slipped down the other side, messed up the landing quite dramatically, and had to take another dab to haul himself up to get the bike off the rock. He's rattling through the latter stages of this section with much greater alacrity than Takehisa Fujinami, but he's going to accrue 3 marks nonetheless, and slips to the bottom of the pile. And for an attack on the championship, that's a disastrous start in the final for Adam Raga. Fujinami scoring 2, and Raga scoring 3. Albert Cabastan next up. A key figure in tonight's X-Trial after he separated Bo and Raga last time out to take second. And in fact, Adam Raga will be relying on Cabastan getting in the mix again here tonight. The top qualifier here this evening, Albert Cabastan, finding his best form in the latter stages of the season. This the step that hampered the progress of both Fujinami and Raga. Cabastan is going to make it, but he too will use a mark, in his case for leaning, as he hauls himself to the top. Didn't need to take a dab, but used the bottom of the bike, used the sump to haul himself up, effectively in 2 stages. Bridging now to the rocks through the latter stages of this section. If he avoids a time penalty mark, then he will be inside the scoring of Fujinami, and Raga will move above both in the standings. Plenty of pace in the second half of that section, and Albert Cabestan is through inside on time for a 1-mark score on observation in the early part of the section, and it's Cabestan 1, Fujinami 2 and Raga 3. Differences emerging between the riders as early as section 1. Next up, Tony Bow, restricted to 3rd in qualifying, perhaps feeling the pressure with only minimal advantage into the last final of the season. Building up to the step that cost marks to all 3 of his rivals. Is it an opportunity for Tony Bow to go top? Watched on by his minder from the peak of the section. The highest point in this section 1. And Bow is up on the back wheel. Doesn't need to take a mark. And if he can remain clean through to the end of section 1, he'll move above all 3 of his event rivals. And his 2 championship rivals will be watching on here at the start of another brilliant performance from Tony Bow. The championship favourite, set to become the first rider to clean section 1. And Bow moves in front. 1, 2 and 3 for his rivals here tonight in Marseille, and Tony Bow is clean in the first section of the final. Section 2, one of the easier sections in the final perhaps, but also one of the longest. Negotiating these pipes and blocks within the time allowance will be the biggest challenge here. Takehisa Fujinami straight up to the first of the turrets. A 2-mark score in section 1. He's in line for a podium after that opening section. Presented a chance, of course, of overhauling Gironi Fajardo in the overall standings after Fajardo's failure to progress tonight. Fujinami looking for a top 2 finish to move 4th in the leaderboard overall. First rider from outside of Spain to make a final since James Dable back in 2014. Trackside announcer asking for noise to be made for Takehisa Fujinami, one of the most colourful and popular characters in this discipline. Working well through section 2, but he is labouring in terms of time. And I can imagine that 60-second time allowance is not going to be enough once again here for Takehisa Fujinami. There is the klaxon. 60 seconds have elapsed. And now it's just about minimising errors, because he will accrue 1 mark at least from this section 2. Trailblazing tonight, because Fujinami is going to show the way through to the end of the first 2 sections to all 3 of his final rivals. Down the other side in 80 seconds, it's just 1 mark on time. It moves him on to 3 and level with Adam Raga. Raga, of course, still has to ride this section 2. But as I said, a disadvantage for Fujinami, because by completing the first 2 sections, he's effectively shown the way through to Adam Raga, who dropped a mark more than Fujinami with an error on section 1, but has an opportunity to move back level with the Japanese rider if he can run clean here. He's going to have to take this section a lot faster than Fujinami did. He's got to make up per 20 seconds compared to the Japanese rider. Tonight's 4 finalists with 14 extra World Championships between them. After tonight, of course, it'll be 15, because all 3 of the championship contenders appear here. Adam Raga accountable for 4 of those championships. Working his way quickly and efficiently through section 2. Clean as it stands. It's going to be tight on time, and he really is starting to rush now in the latter stages. But he's going to make it through to the finish, and beautifully, 54 seconds inside on time. Adam Raga is clean on section 2, pulls crucially back level with Takehisa Fujinami. Now he needs a slip up from Tony Bow between now and the finish to get back into contention for victory. Raga has to win this final in Marseille. Albert Cabestan next up. Brilliant performance through qualifying. 1 mark first time out. 2 marks up on Adam Raga and Takehisa Fujinami as it stands, and as he finds his balance on the top of the second turret. About halfway through on time now already, Albert Cabastan. Enjoys this type of technical section, and that's where he really made his advantage count in qualifying. Just hauling his back wheel up onto the top of yet another turret. And making his way through towards the finish. This is going to be another clean performance, matching Adam Raga with a clean on section 2 and remaining 2 marks ahead of his rival, with Tony Bow still to come. Might be an advantage for Bow to run last, but it certainly ramps up the pressure because he knows exactly what he's got to do. And since Albert Cabastan has only conceded 1 mark through the opening 2 sections, Bow cannot afford to concede more than 1, although that said, he does only need 2nd from tonight's event. 8 points up in the championship, of course. Tony Bow would be world champion if he finished 2nd here in Marseille. So far, so good for Tony Bow. As I suggested, this one of the easier sections in the final. Since there are only 5 sections, that's not much of a room for error. If any of these riders do drop an unexpected failure, it will be almost impossible to recover from it. Question raised, of course, as to whether Raga can even make up the 3 marks he conceded to Tony Bow on section 1. Only 3 sections to go after this one for Tony Bow, edging closer to the world title as he runs clean through the opening 2 sections, a mark ahead of Albert Cabastan, and more importantly than that, 3 marks ahead of his main championship rival Adam Raga, who sits tied 3rd with Takehisa Fujinami. Section 3, the tallest of the 5 sections. This the biggest step. Fujinami makes it to the top. He is going to concede a mark though for leaning, and he eventually finds his way to the peak, or to the crest of the first trunk. Now slipping down. Oh, he's gone down off the side of the 2nd log, and that's going to be a 5 for Takehisa Fujinami. The challenge with these log sections are the curved surfaces, offering the narrowest possible contact patch for the tyre, the smallest margin for error. And Fujinami there just slipping off the crest of that 2nd horizontal log, and to a 5 mark score. Looks as though he's starting to drop out of contention for the podium positions, unless his rivals all struggle similarly on this section 3. Adam Raga, having watched Takehisa Fujinami, makes that deft mid-air turn and lands down on the other side without slipping from that narrow surface area on the trunk, making it up the 2nd ramp. The hardest part of the section perhaps now completed. Another couple of turns still to make, but the tallest of the steps are already completed. Adam Raga makes it up and should be through within 60 seconds here. The first rider to make it through section 3. He had to do it a little bit blind because Fujinami fell from the section so early on, but Raga does remain clean. 3 marks then for Adam Raga, 8 for Takehisa Fujinami. Cabastan and Bow on just 1 between them. Cabastan next up, minimising errors to remain in contention with Tony Bow. That's the key for Albert Cabastan, who makes it up the first step without dropping a mark. He's already passed where Fujinami struggled on this section 3, and Adam Raga had no great problems after that. The trunk's visibly moving as Albert Cabastan works his way through, adding an additional element of difficulty to this section 3. We're passing the halfway mark now in this X-Trial final. Cabastan gaining his balance for the 2nd of the upright logs on this section 3. He's made it up, he remains clean, he's going to remain on 1 mark from 3 completed sections, A really competitive performance from Albert Cabestan tonight. Topping qualifying, second after 3 sections in the final. And only 1 mark from Tony Bowe. Bowe still has to complete this section 3. Again, the pressure put back on the 9 times world champion. Looking to make it 10 tonight, of course, Tony Bowe. Just continuing to match Adam Ragger through each section will be enough for Bowe, regardless of what Cabestan does. But Bowe, I'm sure, will want to end the season on a high after 2 consecutive victories, looking to make it a 3rd win in succession. Tony Bowe. Making the twists and the turns look easy as ever, heading towards the finish. Set to be the fastest of the 4 competitors through this section 3 as well. It matters little, it's going to be another clean for Tony Bowe. So 3 riders clean through section 3, and with a 5-mark score for Takehisa Fujinami, that really does drop him back as we move on to the final 2 sections of the night. A real industrial type section, this section 4, with skips and shipping containers laid out across the arena floor. Fujinami, after scoring 5 marks in section 3, would be mathematically out of the running for a top 2 finish if he picks up another failure here. Strong start to the section for Takehisa Fujinami, confidently attacking the first of the skips. Quite an urban and industrial feel, thematic feel to the sections in Marseille tonight. Takehisa Fujinami asking for the crowd's appeal to urge him forward. Just can't quite make it up the ramp. Foot down, Minder has to catch his front wheel. It is going to be a 5 in section 4 for Takehisa Fujinami, but he's playing to the gallery nonetheless. And coming off the side of section 4 after scoring a 5-mark tally, he's out of contention for a top 2 finish. Still in mathematical contention for 3rd, but it seems unlikely. He'd be relying on Adam Ragger to fail both of the 2 remaining sections. So Ragger can guarantee a podium finish in tonight's event with anything other than a 5-mark score here. Can he make it up the ramp that posed Takehisa Fujinami so many difficulties just moments ago? Fujinami now on 13, the other 3. The 3 championship contenders coming into tonight's event, separated by just 3 marks. This the ramp that halted Fujinami's progress. Adam Ragger is next to attempt it. Makes it in 2 stages and down over the other side. And crucially, without leaning on the crest of that container. This is going to be another challenge for Adam Ragger. No run up here at all. It's all physical strength. Halfway up. He's got to really haul himself to the top now, Adam Ragger. He's done so, but he concedes a mark up for leaning there. Just using the sump of the machine to haul himself to the top. Time also elapsing. He's past the 60-second timer. You heard the klaxon there to confirm that. But aside from that, it's clean, and it's going to be 2 marks. 1 for that to lean on observation, and another on time as Ragger moves on to 5. He's got the beating of Fujinami, but results are going to have to go his way in the next couple of sections for him to become world champion. His hopes are gradually fading here tonight. Albert Cabestan then, already a confirmed podium finisher after Fujinami's 2 failed sections. To have a chance of 2nd in the championship, which was his target ahead of tonight's event, he would need to overhaul Tony Bowe on the night. Starting to look more likely than Ragger moving up the standings to challenge for the title. Ragger hasn't looked particularly strong here tonight. Cabestan certainly has. What can he do about this ramp midway through section 4? Breezes it. Brilliant stuff from Albert Cabestan. Now this is where Adam Raga slipped up. Kabastan going for the same approach. But he's going to do it without dropping a mark, and that's going to give him a greater advantage over Adam Raga. Can he complete the section within the next 10 seconds? Time is running out. Kabastan's going to have a stab at the last obstacle of the section, and does so just about inside the 60 seconds for a clean on section 4. More brilliant riding from Albert Kabastan, keeping Tony Bow under pressure. But this could be the title decider. Potentially one section away from the title. Tony Bow, with a clean here, he would become world champion. There would be no remaining combination of results that would allow Kabastan to finish behind Raga, but ahead of Bow. As for today's X-Trial, the winner can only be decided in the final section, with 5 marks separating the top 3 as it stands. First ramp completed clean for Tony Bow. This is where his championship rival Adam Raga slipped up, but he's already seen how Kabastan made it through. Bow remains clean. This will be good enough as it stands. As long as he makes it through within the 60-second time allowance, Bow will be confirmed as champion. The revs pick up. Tony Bow is up and over. Tony Bow becomes the world champion for a 10th time in X-Trial competition. 5 marks clear of Adam Raga after his section 4 clean, and remains clean through the lap as a whole. Still tonight's trial to decide. Section 5 is the pool section. Staying out of water is the only way to complete this one. Leapfrogging from stone to the finish. Takehisa Fujinami already resigned to 4th position after 2 consecutive failures. Just looking to delight the crowd and earn some personal pride from this 5th section of the final. Started strongly. Oh, he's going to finish dramatically. The bike coming out from under him as he takes a potted plant with him. Thankfully stays up on his feet, but it is going to be a 5-mark score as Takehisa Fujinami ends the lap on 18. As I said, a confident start for Fujinami. It slipped away with 3 failed sections to close out the night. Adam Raga, who spent most of this final trying to recover from a 3-mark score in section 1. Raga could still win today's event, but he could also lose second in the championship if results go the other way. Anything more than a single drop mark here would resign him to 3rd position on the night and leave him relying on a strong finish for Tony Bow, just to keep him in his 2nd place overall ranking. The stone's moving from under Raga as he tries to position himself halfway through this section 5. But he makes it up nonetheless. Stones creaking and slipping from underneath him. You can see the water that swallowed up Takehisa Fujinami just below Adam Raga as he works through this section 5. Looking to keep his hopes alive in Marseille. Adam Raga clean on section 5. Finishes on a 5-mark tally. He would need both Bow and Kabastan to fail this section to have a chance of becoming the winner in France. And it won't help him in the championship, as I said previously. No possible combination now for Kabastan to finish between Raga and Bow, with the 2 riders the other way around. Of course, Raga sits 3rd as it stands, and Kabastan separates him from Tony Bow in the meeting leaderboard. Bow yet to drop a mark. Kabastan on 1. Guaranteed 2nd position if he can avoid a section 5 failure, because there's 4 marks now between him and Raga. If he does 5 this section, though, he'll drop out of the running for victory tonight, and with that would go his hopes of 2nd in the championship overall. Kabastan starting to struggle here, particularly in terms of time. He's laboured at this one to a greater extent than Adam Raga did before him. That's the klaxon for time, so Albo Cabestan will not make it with inside 60 seconds. And he's accrued 2 marks on observation as well, so it's going to be a lap total of 4. A little bit scrappy there through section 5, which is a shame because it had otherwise been a brilliant lap from Albo Cabestan. So with the world title already secured, only a section 5 failure can deny Tony Bow a 3rd consecutive Grand Prix victory. A 5-mark score here would leave Albo Cabestan victorious and Adam Raga battling in a tie-break just to hold 2nd in the championship. Seems unlikely that Bow will pick up a failure with no pressure on his shoulders now through section 5. Albo Cabestan doing Bow a great favour to just give him a little bit of breathing room coming into tonight's event. And Cabestan has again put himself between Bow and Raga through the final. Bow set to take advantage to open a massive advantage at the close of the championship. But it has been a close one, particularly after Raga's early victory. Looks like it's going to be clean for Tony Bow. It's exhibition stuff now in the latter stages of the X-Trial. The 10 times world champion wins in Marseille. And there's the celebration. Never likes to celebrate before he's completed the final section, even if the championship had been sewn up before now. 10 world titles, he's running out of fingers to show how many crowns he's won. Another exceptional performance from Tony Bow, recovering from an error in qualifying, back to brilliance in the final. Five marks separate the top 3 in a final round that leaves the same trio just over 20 points apart overall. Takehisa Fujinami fails in his bid to take a top 2 finish and overhaul Gironi Fajardo, while by just 4 marks Albo Cabestan misses out on a victory that would have given him 2nd in the championship. With 3 consecutive victories after a shaky start to the campaign, Tony Bow returns to winning ways in style. A clean final lap and victory on the final day of the season.
Je vais demander partenaire en l'honneur du vainqueur de cette...
Today I'm as happy as I am a little bit disappointed. We worked really hard with a very clear objective, searching for the victory to be 2nd in the championship. We missed out by a hair's breadth, such a shame. But I'm happy with how I tackled the race, happy because a podium in the championship is always good, and happy with the end of the X-Trial season. I would like to thank my team for always being with me, working to make my life easier.
Y dar las gracias una vez más al equipo por estar siempre a mi lado, trabajar y hacerme las cosas fáciles.
A challenging trial with so much pressure throughout. In qualifying I was able to beat Tony, but in the final, in the last section, he was able to win. A very tight championship to the finish. I'm happy with my efforts, just a shame I couldn't take the victory. It's been a fantastic race. We had to fight back the nerves and it was really tough. Congratulations to Adam for a great championship and for another good race today. I have to give a lot of merit to this championship that was really hard, and that's a reason to be happy with the title. The season-ending championship standings have an emphatic look about them in favour of Tony Bow, which belies the reality. This 10th title cost Bow a short season of hard work. Recovering from a shock defeat in Sheffield with 3 consecutive victories and surviving the pressure of a championship that went down to the last 2 sections of the year, Bow has once again deserved his title. The worst news for his rivals, he intends to defend it next year.
du bruit. Allez